Hey guys, we are back doing some more research on Jim Walker. So where we left off is that I had found a little information about Jim Walker and his first marriage and some of his kids, and I was able to find him in the 1950 census and the 1930 census. What I want to do now is try and look for him in the 1940 census. The record that came up in the 1940 census is not him. So I need to dig a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to start by going to Ancestry. I've typed in Jim Walker in the county where I know that he was living. And I'm just going to see what I can find. Right now, I don't see anyone that is really matching the description that I have for him. I will say this is one of the parts of researching family history that's really frustrating if you have if you're researching someone with a very common name like Walker and Jim. It's just sometimes things that should be very straightforward just are not. So I didn't find anything for Jim Walker. Let me see if I can look under his wife's name, his first wife's name, Annie Walker. And I'm still looking in Shelby County, Alabama. I'm not choosing anything as exact under the location because I'm not 100% sure where they're living in 1940. So I do see Annie Walker. Some of this is in Shelby County. Some of this is not in Shelby County. But I'm not seeing anything. Now notice, I don't generally go to like the 5th or 6th page because it gets to be generally pretty, the chances of that being your person that you're looking for is fairly rare. Now, sometimes I have found them on 5 or 6, but more than likely, it's just going to be easier to adjust your search and do a better search. So I'm still looking because I don't see him, but I know that I have found him before. And this is why it's so important to document your research and where you have searched. And that's why books like this one, I'm using the Genealogy Research Workbook. It is available via Amazon. The link will be down below. But that's why it's so important to document this information, you guys. Because I know that I have seen him before. Let me try and look for one of their kids. And I'm just going to take out Shelby County. I know they have a son by the name of Burl, which is a little bit more unique than just Jim. But it's also, I don't know how Burl is being spelled. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? The name is unique, but it's also can be spelled 100 different ways. I see a Burl Walker, but we're talking Arkansas, and I know they didn't live in Arkansas. When I say I don't know where they lived, I mean I don't know where they lived in Alabama. I know for a fact they didn't live in Arkansas. So I'm just going to go ahead and take out Burl and just look for Walker. And I'm going to have to put back in Shelby County because there's no way I'm going to just type in Walker in all of Alabama and think that I'm going to find anything. Okay, still nothing. Still nothing. Now, what is going on here? Sometimes I have noticed, what you do have to keep in mind is that the database itself is searching a transcription. So sometimes, and I've noticed that it changes. Like some years I can find somebody in one census and then the next year I cannot find them in the very same census, at least through search, because these databases are always kind of going in and cleaning up their transcriptions and stuff like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but I am really struggling to find this person. I think what I'm going to do is go back to home, and I am going to do a full search, all collections on Jim Walker. And I'm going to put in the birth information that I do know. I have 1896, but he has given a couple of different birth years, so we'll see how this goes. And I'm going to type in Shelby County, Alabama. So I was searching the specific census year before, and now I'm just bringing it out a little bit more to do a broader search, because I didn't find him looking in the census records. So I am going to see what I have here. I have a 1950 record. I have a 1940 record in Maylene. Let's see if this is who we're looking for. I believe this could be who we're looking for, and this might be why we're not able to find the names, because these names are definitely misspelled. But this Jimmy W. Walker is standing out to me because I know his daughter's name was Jimmy. So, and then Maylene is also a place where I know that they would have lived in Shelby County, or could possibly have lived. So in this case, what I want to do is look at the actual record to see if I can kind of decipher. I'm going to pull this a little bit closer to me to see if I can decipher if this is the correct. And it is. It is. This is transcribed as Ennis, but this is Annie. That's Annie. And this is what I was saying about transcriptions. We have to remember that, one, the census taker wrote things how they wrote things. Sometimes they're misspelled. Sometimes they just did the best they could to sound stuff out. So now, 50 years later, when we're getting it transcribed so that it's searchable, you have somebody else coming along, and they're going to transcribe it the best of their ability, which neither of those things may be the person's name. But this database is searching the transcription. So this is why, one of the reasons I had such a hard time finding it. But this is Annie. This is Burl. I would have probably said Buddy if I was transcribing this. And this is Jimmy. So, okay. They are living in Maylene, Alabama in 1940. This is the Jim Walker that I am looking for. Now, I do want to go ahead and add his son here, which I know his son's name is Burl. My mother confirmed that for me when I was doing my family interview with her. So, this is 1940. He was born around 1918. Based on his age here. And he was born in Alabama. All right, so we are going to pop back out. And I see him here. Although he lists his birthplace as Georgia, which is very interesting because I have his birthplace as Alabama because that's how it was listed in 1950. So as I continue to do some research, I am going to keep note of that. So I'm going to go to my notes page. Down here on the census tracker, which we're going to look at the census tracker today. And I am going to put just a note that says he may have been born in Georgia. So this is the good thing about using a workbook, because all of your notes are in one place, you guys. So just like it took me an extra 5 or 6 minutes to try to track down this record that I knew I had seen before. But now, because the search database or the search algorithm has adjusted just a little bit, I wasn't able to find it again. But if I had have kept this information contained in one place, it would have been so much easier to find. So having something like a research workbook is so beneficial for that reason. But I have gone ahead and I've listed his family here. So now what I want to do is try and get them listed on the census tracker so that I can start tracking them through the census years. So what that is going to look like is me taking the information that I know, and I'm going to write the family members at the top and then start tracking them through the census year and putting down the locations of where they lived during that census year. So since this person was married more than once, my grandfather, I am going to go ahead and put his name first. And I'm actually going to list his first wife with her maiden name. And then I am going to list their first child, then their second child, and then I'm going to list his second wife, who is my grandmother, and then his stepson, who is my grandmother's son, and then together they had my mother. So this is the family unit. I am going to go in and add my mother here. And I have the family unit now represented in the census tracker. And I'm going to go ahead and start tracking them through the census years. So the way this works, the census tracker is probably one of the most important pages in this entire book, because this is what allows you to find your family in various census years, to know where they lived, maybe where they migrated to, and this is what you are tracking. This is the research, the main research that you're doing. Once you can identify your family in these census years, then you can start putting the stories around what happened. Why did they go from one place to the next? But you can't do that if you don't know where they were, if you don't know what story you're looking for, right? So starting with your census tracker is so critical. So I'm going to go ahead and put Maylene So I'm putting where they live. This is how this sheet works. You put the family member's name at the top, and then you track where they lived in these particular census years. Location is very important in family history research, you guys. Location, location, location. Because then you can go back and find this person if you need to find them. So Annie Marshall lived here as well. Burl did as well. So did Jimmy. And I don't know where Ethel Lou is in 1940. So that would be another research session to find where she is. I do know, let's see what's happening in this 1930. And all I'm doing is just clicking on another entry from when I searched Jim Walker. Okay, and look, this is the same family again. We have Jim Walker living in Maylene. We have Annie Walker is there. Jimmy Walker is there, but I don't see the son. So I don't know where he is. That would be a mystery. But let me go ahead and write down where they lived in 1930. Now, I'm just going to do quotes here, which is just an indicator that they lived in the same place as I have listed above. And that just saves me some writing room. But there's a mystery here because where is Burl? Okay, he should be with the family. So I am just going to quickly go ahead and look at the image, the actual image, to see if Burl is listed and he just didn't get transcribed. I don't see Burl in here. So that is a mystery. That's something I'm going to have to keep researching. Okay. All right. So another reason why the census tracker sheet is so important and so useful. When we talk about roadblocks and tracking your family history, putting everything on one page allows you to quickly see where there is a gap, right? We do not have an entry for Burl for 1930. That is a problem. That's a gap. That's a roadblock possibly. We're going to have to find him in 1930. So that lets you know that right away. The next thing I want to do is check 1920. I haven't checked 1950 yet because that's where we started and we know where they were in 1950. So I'm going to go in and fill that in just a moment. Okay, so we have a Jim W. Walker here, but I don't know if this is the right person because they are in Fayette, Alabama, and I've never known this family to be in Fayette. So that may be some more research. I'm not saying that's not them. I'm saying before I write it down, I am going to check and see if it's them by doing a little bit more specific research. And so while my internet must be dying on me because 1930 doesn't want to come up, I'm actually going to go ahead and write. I was just going to do the quotes, but I think it's going to be beneficial for me to actually write in the city name at least. Because like I was saying, by doing that, I can just quickly glance and see that I don't have a city name here for Burl. Okay, that came up. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in my 1950 since 1920 is proving to be a little bit of a roadblock. It may not be a big roadblock, but we're going to have to do some more research to see if I can dig in and find the right person in 1920. I will say this. I do know that Jim Walker served time in prison. I don't know if that included the 1920 census or not. So that's why I'm going to have to do a little bit more research. But I'm going to go ahead and fill in the 1950. So I'm back on the records page for Jim Walker in 1930. And I'm looking at the suggested records over to the right. This is a great way to help you find information quickly. You just have to be careful because it's not always accurate. No, I don't want to say it's not always accurate. But yes, that is what I want to say. It's not always accurate. Because this is like not AI, because Ancestry was doing this long before AI, but it's just like when you search something in Google or YouTube. It's going to kind of take your search result and then scan all the records and give you what they think may be what you're looking for, but it may not be what you're looking for. You know what I mean? I will say Ancestry is really good at this, and so most of the time it is what you're looking for, but sometimes it's not, so you just got to be careful. Don't just assume because Ancestry shows you something that that is your ancestor. That's what I'm getting at. You still need to do your due diligence. Okay, so Saginaw, Siluria, this is where they live. This is where my mom was raised. This is the right person, and I knew that because I had already seen this record in the prior video, but I need to go ahead and write down the location of who lived where. So I am seeing Jim Walker in Saginaw, Shelby County. Annie, Burl, Jimmy, I don't see them. At this point, he is married to his second wife, my grandmother. And I do see Arthur Jones. That's his name. But they listed as Arthur Walker here because he's in this household, but his name is Arthur Jones, and he is living with them as well. Okay, and my mother was born after 1950, so she will not appear on any census as of yet because 1950 is the last census available. All right, so I am going to go ahead and stop. Give me just a minute while I pause my Ancestry video. And we're going to move my iPad out of the way. So we have wrapped up another Research With Me session. Before I close this video, though, a couple of things I really want to point out. I've said it a couple of times in this video. The census tracker is your bread and butter. This is one of the most useful, although it's very simple, it's one of the most useful research forms you will have in this workbook. It allows you to track an entire family unit through the census years. And that is very critical. It is always pretty much the first thing you need to do when you start researching your family. If you can't find them, leave it blank, and that lets you know that you need to come back and do a little bit deeper research. That may mean that ancestor, you do an ancestor details sheet for that person, and you do concentrated searching to find information about that particular person. If it's an ancestor that you're going to research to that level, it may be a roadblock that you need to work through. This sheet will tell you so much about the additional research that you're going to have to do. So don't skip it. Again, this is probably the most important sheet out of this whole book. Do not skip it. We are going to end this video here. We're going to pick back up and continue to research, continue to build out Jim Walker's family throughout the census records, and see where we have gaps and roadblocks that I need to work through. So thanks for watching. Happy researching. And if you're interested in picking up this book, it is linked down below. It is available on Amazon in both hardcover and softcover. This is the softcover version. So give it a try if you're interested. Thanks for watching.